I don't want anyone to call me on the phone. I don't want anybody to text me. I don't want to speak to anybody.
If you're ever at the bookstore and you're trying to decide between two books, something that I do is I read the back, then I look at the cover, then I stack them like so, and then I buy 5 books.
So no, he didn't give me flowers or candy. He gave me the moon and the stars. Infinity.
The belly Conrad is the sun, and when the sun comes out, the stars disappear.
These are the 3 books I recommend you read next to change the way you think in 2023, and the third one blew my mind. The first one is Think and Grow Rich. It will teach you how to think like the rich. The second one is my book, You Deserve This Shit. Help you get unstuck, find your path, and become the best version of yourself. And finally, the third and final is The Mountain Is You. It will help you turn self-sabotage into self-mastery.
So far this year, here are my top 3. If you're new here, my name's Francesca. I read and review loads of books, so you know the best places to start. Give me a quick follow for later. Firstly, What Lies Between Us. So a woman has her elderly mum chained up in the attic. This is told from dual point of view, and John Marrs truly is the king of thrillers on this one. Next, The Housemaid. So a desperate ex-con is hired as a living housemaid for a very wealthy family. Everything's going okay until she realises the attic room she's been put up in only locked from the outside. Then Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. So a woman wakes up in a hospital in a coma. She can't speak, move or communicate, but she can hear everything. Which has been your favourite read of the year so far?
Here are some fast-paced and easy-to-read books to help you get ahead of your reading goal. 2 best friends are driving to a party late at night when they notice that someone is following them. I read this in one sitting with my heart pounding the entire time. 2 women meet by chance in an airport and make a last-minute decision to completely switch identities. This one is really good on audio and is just so underrated. A domestic whodunit thriller set in a neighborhood where a teenager likes to sneak into people's houses and dig up their secrets, and of course someone turns up murdered. A woman crashes her car into an icy lake with her son and his friend and accidentally saves the friend instead of her son. This one gets super weird. A group of friends get snowed in at a secluded cabin in the woods, and there may be something watching them. This is another edge of your seat one. You will not want to stop reading.
I have read 118 books so far this year, and these are the only books I've given 5 stars. I'm a relatively harsh rater, so keep that in mind, but these are my absolute favorite books of 2023 so far. First up, we have actually the very first book I read this year, so I hit a home run right out of the gate. That is Archer's Voice. This book I thought was going to be overhyped because I was seeing it everywhere on TikTok, but it is one of my favorite romance books to this day. Definitely a 5-star read. If you haven't read it yet, you gotta. Next is a book I read early in the year, and that is Daisy Jones and the Six. I will say this book took me a little bit to get into, but by the end I was sobbing my eyes out. Automatic 5-star. Loved this book. Next is Happy Place by Emily Henry. I don't own the physical copy of this one either, but this book single-handedly convinced me to revisit Emily Henry books. I thought I wasn't a fan of Emily Henry until I read this book, and it was so dang good that I actually went back and reread all her books. Love this book, 5 stars. Next is a book that I think way more people should be talking about, and that is The Wish by Nicholas Sparks. If you happen to be watching this around Christmas time, pick this up immediately. You don't have to read it around the holidays, but it does take place around that time of year, so I think it's a little extra special. I think this book is absolutely phenomenal, way underrated, totally a 5-star read for me, one of my favorite romances of all time. Next is actually book 3 in a series, and that is Ignite Me. This is book 3 in the Shatter Me series. I will say the books before and after this are more in the 3 or 4-star range, but this book in particular, phenomenal, 5-star read for me, definitely my favorite book of the series. Next is The 7-Year Slip. I bet you've seen this one recently. I love this book. Ashley Poston actually became one of my favorite authors after reading this book and The Dead Romantics. So good. Definitely 5 stars. Had me in tears. Lastly are 2 books in a 5-star series for me. So that is Hot House Flowers and Some Kind of Perfect. These are both part of the Addicted Calloway Sister series. That series actually has more 5 stars for me. Addicted After All and Long Way Down are also 5-star reads for me. As a whole, that series is like a must read. It's my all-time favorite book series. And these books in particular, plus the 2 I just mentioned that I don't own physical copies of, were total 5 6-star reads for me. Chef's kiss, phenomenal. So those are some of my favorite books of the year. Leave a comment down below telling me your top 5-star reads of 2023 so far. And I can't wait to pick them up and add them to my own TBR. Bye, book besties. See you soon.
I tell you that I have just finished the spiciest books that I have ever read. I am not over exaggerating. These books were spicy. I'm talking MM. I'm talking MMFM. I'm talking all the M's, all the F's, all the P's, and all the V's. Let me tell you about it. These books are so dang spicy. I'm not really sure how I'm going to be able to speak about them on here, but we're going to give it a red hot crack. This series has 3 books, 1 novella, 2 full-length books. Yes, the 2 full-length books are very, very long. Are they too long? In my opinion, yes. But I loved every single page. They were both 5-star reads for me, and it is my first bully romance, and it is like, I guess you would say, reverse bully. Female main character was previously the bully, and we do get then and now timeline of when she bullied them in high school, and then when everything comes to fruition in the present. If you have not guessed by now, yes, this is The Loser's Duet by Harley LaRue, and the novella is The Dare. Yes, you need to read The Dare first. I mean, you don't need to, but it definitely provides a hell of a lot of context before you go into Losers Part 1. Will also be your little spicy taster. Because if you read The Dare and you're like, oh my god, this is way too spicy for me, Losers get spicier. Losers get spicier. If you read The Dare and you're like, there is no way it gets spicier than this. Wrong. Literally wrong. Every time you think that it can't get spicier, they add a couple more chilies. Every spice you can think of is getting thrown in the pot. This is also a wide choose romance, so you've got 1 FMC, 4 MMCs, and can I just tell you that this is also the greatest written wide choose I have ever read, because the wide choose made sense. Every single individual relationship was well thought out, was well described. I believed that she loved each and every single one of them for their own reasons. And when we get to the end of Losers Part 2, they all get their own individual declarations of love. And the way the character development made me love every single character. Every time it changed POVs, I was like, you're my favorite. No, you're my favorite. Oh no, you're my favorite. That's my favorite couple. No, that's my favorite couple. You know who the favorite couple is? Every single one of them, they all belong together. In this, it's not just 4 guys obsessed with 1 girl. The guys are all in relationships with each other. And, please, if you are a spicy romance reader, go and read this series. You will not regret it. Spicy.
I really like your body. I really like your body. I really wanna get naughty. I think you're such a hottie. Slow dancing in the party.
This year I have read 35 books, so here are the ones that I rated 5-star. I do not give out 5 stars very easily. A 5-star read for me is a book that when I read it, I would not change a single thing about it. And feel free to follow me on Instagram and Goodreads. That's where I post what I'm currently reading in real time if you want to keep up with me over there. My first 5-star read of the year was Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I talk about this book all the time. I recommend it to literally anybody who needs a really good romance in their life. I was just editing this and I needed to come back and like talk about this book more just because I didn't really give a lot of context, but this book is so different than any romance you're going to read. It's a very real story. It makes you feel connected to the characters and that they could realistically exist in real life. I feel like most romance books are pretty similar, but this one, it made me laugh, it made me cry. I fell in love with Brianna and Jacob's love. It was so good. Oh my gosh, read it. Also gave 5 stars to Dark Matter and Recursion, both by Blake Crouch. He is an amazing sci-fi author. If you're looking to dip your toe in a different genre, if you've never read sci-fi before, I highly recommend checking these out. They're books that are going to make you mind blown, but also make you think. And we have Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan. I loved every single part of this book. If you liked Every Summer After, definitely check this out. Very similar vibes, childhood romance moving into adulthood, and also a really quick read, a great beachy read. It's like under 300 pages. I I flew through this. I actually had to pace myself to slow down because I was obsessed with every single part of this book. House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This is an amazing feel-good fantasy book. This will make you feel all the feels. It is so good. Another book that if you're looking to kind of dip your toe into fantasy, I would definitely start with this. It's a little bit fantasy, but like also incorporates like real life. Just an overall really great, heartwarming story. And then on the polar opposite side of the spectrum, we have Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. Definitely check trigger warnings before you read this. It is very dark. But up until I read this, I haven't read a thriller that made me feel the way that this book made me feel. I would definitely give it a try, but like I said, check trigger warnings, but it is so freaking good. Next up, we have 2 Ellen Hildebrand books. You guys know this is an Ellen Hildebrand fan page. If you need a good B2 read, definitely check out her books. The 5-Star Weekend is her newest release. I loved it. I loved every single thing about it. Her books are full of so much description that you feel like you're sitting in the room and that you're in the mind of every character. Then 28 Summers by her was also a 5-star for me. Again, another great summer read. I read this on the beach and just absolutely loved the vibes. The Push was the first book that I read this year, and before you read it, especially if you're a mom, I would definitely check the trigger warnings because there are some dark things that happen in this book, but it's a really good thriller and it's only about 300 pages, so you can pretty much fly through this. Great twists that happen throughout it, and the ending will literally have you like...
I read 65 books in 2023, and here are my top 5 favorite romance books. I'm not including fantasy in this because I just don't think it's fair. I don't think you can rate them on the same scale. The first book is not a surprise to anyone. It's The Right Move by Liz Tomford. Ryan Shea is the epitome of a book boyfriend. Ryan Shea is why I cannot like a man in real life. Everything he does, perfect. Like, he can do no wrong in my eyes. I don't care. Like, I really do not care. I will not accept any criticism on this book. Anybody who says one thing bad about this book, they're fucking lying, okay? They're lying. The next one is kind of funny because it just came out yesterday and I finished it yesterday, but it was Caught Up by Liz Tomford. Again, another Liz Tomford, man. She just knows how to write them. She knows how to create them. She's the reason I will be single for the rest of my life. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, but not thank you. Single Dad, Wild Nanny, Coach's Daughter. It was amazing. I have a soft spot for kids in books, so I feel like this is why it was ranked so high for me, but it was amazing. Go read it. The next one was Daisy Hates The Great Undoing. This one ripped my heart apart. Threw me down a flight of fucking stairs. Threw me down the next flight of stairs. And it didn't even, I was gonna say it picked up my heart and put it back together, but it didn't. It did not. It left me heartbroken. I cried so much at the end of this book. I cried so much. I didn't even like this book because of Daisy Hates and Christian, which is the love interests that it follows throughout the whole entire book. I liked it because of Julian. Julian is Daisy's brother, and you get his point of view from his relationship in this book. It was amazing. Julian deserved better, okay? He did. He deserved better. Next one was Reckless by Elsie Silver. I feel like this book in the Chestnut Spring series was either the most loved or the most hated, specifically for the pregnancy trope. If you tell yourself you don't like a pregnancy trope, you're lying. You're lying, or you're denying yourself happiness and joy. Because a pregnancy trope, it's amazing. You can't tell me otherwise. It's amazing. Theo in this, silly, goofy, funny. I love a goofy man. I love a goofy man. Winter, she was kind of in the beginning like a little bitchy. I love a bitchy woman. What else can I say? And then ranking in the number 5 spot, I feel like this one is gonna be a little shocking, and I'm gonna get a little bit of hate for it. The Final Offer by Lauren Asher. This one was my favorite one in the series. If you could see a pattern, what would you say the pattern is? Pregnancy trope, single dad, single mom, children, they're my weakness. Whenever somebody comes into somebody else's life and like, I'm not only gonna love and take care of you, I'm gonna love and protect and take care of your child as well. That makes my heart ache. It adds element to the story. Phenomenal. Amazing. This book was amazing. I loved it.
I think that's supposed to be magic. I knew that.
I read 50 books so far this year. Here are the 7 that I gave 5 stars. Plus a few honorable mentions that I think everybody should read, but I just didn't give them 5 stars, but I still love them. As always, I recommend following me on Instagram and Goodreads. Both of them are always linked in case you want to keep up with what I'm reading in real time. I will also link all of these books on my storefront in case you're in the mood to shop. My first 5-star of the year went to Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. This is an amazing romance novel if you're in the market. This book has characters that are very real and relatable. I think that's why I like this book so much. I saw myself and my boyfriend in Brianna and Jacob, and I just fell in love with their love story. It made me laugh, it made me cry, it evoked all of the emotions, so this was my first 5-star of 2023. Then we have my second 5-star of the year. This book I didn't give 5 stars at first, but the longer I sat and thought about it, I was like, what am I thinking? House in the Cerulean Sea. This is a really great place to start if you are thinking about dabbling in the world of fantasy, but you're not really sure where to start because this book combines the real world and magical creatures. It's a story about love, friendship. This will make your heart so full. I devoured this book. Another romance novel that I devoured. This is Same Time Next Summer. If you like the vibe of Every Summer After by Carly Fortune, I would definitely check this out. The author, Annabelle Monaghan, has very quickly become one of my favorite authors. She also writes another book that I love, Nora Goes Off Script. I recommend this to everybody. They're very quick reads, but they make you feel so whole at the end. Then we have 28 Summers by Ellen Hildebrand. This book is so good. It follows Mallory and Jake and their relationship and how no matter what, they make a pact that for the next 28 summers they will meet, like I said, no matter what, Labor Day weekend on Nantucket. The ending of this book had me bawling. I loved it so much. And Ellen's newest release, The 5-Star Weekend. This is about Hollis Shaw, who is a very famous food blogger. Her husband suddenly passes away. To help along her mourning process, she invites 5 girlfriends, one from each phase of her life, to Nantucket for the weekend to have like a girls' weekend. This friend group holds lots of secrets. It was just a really great book, and my favorite part about it was the amount of description that she put in about the food, their clothing, the decor. It made me feel like I was sitting in the room with all of these women. I loved it. My first and only 5-star thriller of the year was Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. This is a very dark book. If you choose to read this, I recommend checking the trigger warnings before you do so. This book made me feel a little bit sick to my stomach at times, but the overall storyline and the twists I did not see coming, and I don't love a lot of thrillers because I feel like I can see the twist coming from a mile away, but not with this one. Definitely comment some more thriller recommendations. I'm trying to get some more 5-star thrillers under my belt. Then I finished August on a major high note by reading Remarkably Bright Creatures. This book is everything. I don't know why I waited so long to read it. It follows Tova and Cameron and their storylines, but it also follows a very curious little octopus named Marcellus, who is housed at the aquarium where Tova works. Marcellus and Tova end up forming this little friendship, and Marcellus is trying to drop hints to Tova about this new person in her life. You will fall in love with this octopus. I absolutely became obsessed with him. I kept looking forward to his little passages in the book. I would literally flip forward to see how many pages I had to read until we heard from him again. And just a few honorable mentions, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. There is a reason this book was the top book of 2022. It is really good. It's really different than anything I've ever read before. It's about 2 game developers and the process of one developing a game, but all of the struggles and good things that come with that. Also have to mention 2 Blake Crouch books, Dark Matter and Recursion. These are both like kind of a sci-fi vibe, so if you're looking to dip your toe into that realm of reading, I recommend starting with these 2. And one last Ellen Hildebrand book that I really loved, The Blue Bistro. If you read The Hotel Nantucket, I read that book last year and loved it, but The Blue Bistro is very similar to The Hotel Nantucket, but instead of being about a hotel, it's about a restaurant. It's about the restaurant employees, the guests. It's very fast-paced. I devoured this book. It's a really great summer beach read. I know we're moving into fall, but put it on your list for next year. Please feel free to comment your favorite books of the year. I'm always looking to add more to my list, and I will see you next time.